I'm actually so excited to announce that I'm going to be releasing my first book.
What makes my experience unique is that my manhood was like acquired. It wasn't inherited.
From their hidden past,
I cry thinking about it because it's been something that I've searched and fought so long for, and to find that now I want to share my story.
to their headline-grabbing reviews,
But as someone who's always been in theater and in the, choirs and the drama classes and all that, this is just affirmation and a full circle moment for me.
here are 10 black celebrities who underwent gender transition, starting with Janet Mock, whose life took a drastic turn just because of the choices she made. Janet's life was not all glitz and glamour. While she was still in high school, she felt trapped in the wrong body, and then she began her journey of transitioning, which marked the beginning of a painful and challenging story. Growing up in a poor family and having no choice, Janet resorted to sex work to fund her gender-affirming surgery. This path was not only harsh, but pushed her to the brink of emotional and physical trauma. She saved up every penny to undergo the surgery. It wasn't just a life-changing decision for her, but a bold statement about freedom and the right to live authentically. But behind the physical pain of the transformation were immeasurable emotional scars, harsh judgmental looks, derogatory comments, and the constant fear that haunted her. If you thought Janet's story was touching, wait till you see how this next celebrity made history as the most transgender standout in the modeling industry. Amaya Scott was not only a standout in the modeling industry, but also a resilient warrior of the LGBTQ community. At that time, being transgender was not only difficult, but also a life-threatening challenge for one's career. Nevertheless, Amaya didn't back down. She was faced with massive criticism and disdainful looks from society and gradually made her way into the entertainment and modeling world. While Amaya faced public humiliation, for Monroe, transitioning came at a great price. Monroe made history as the first transgender model to join L'Oreal's K campaign. But behind her resounding success was a relentless battle with stigma, racism, and immense social pressure. Monroe began her transition as a university student and faced even greater turmoil after entering the modeling world. When Monroe spoke out against racism, L'Oreal severed its partnership with her, sparking an unprecedented controversy. However, this shock only amplified her voice. The more adversity she faced, the stronger she became. Nothing destroys reputation as much as a scandal, but what would you do when the things being said about you are true, as in the case of Laverne transitioning? Laverne Cox went from being a relentlessly bullied child to a global icon and also the first transgender woman to be nominated for an Emmy. Laverne not only conquered Hollywood but also shattered the stereotypes imposed on the transgender community. Transitioning wasn't an easy decision. She grew up constantly mocked by her peers, but what hurt even more was the rejection from her own family. But Laverne did not give up. To escape from her harsh reality, Laverne made her way to New York, determined to chase her dreams, which they eventually did. A pivotal moment in Laverne's life was when her mother publicly stated that she was proud of her after years of denying her. While Laverne's story is so touching, let's consider Brian Michael Smith, whose story we can learn a lot from. With standout roles, Brian made history by becoming the first black transgender man to land a leading role on television. But his journey to success was fraught with unimaginable challenges. As a child, Brian was an outstanding athlete, always excelling in sports, but behind the medals and smiles, he felt alienated in his own body. He realized his true gender identity, although this was a turbulent time as society still held deep prejudices against transgender people. With an unmistakable resolve but uneasy steps, Brian ventured into acting. He realized there was little room for someone like him, and with so many obstacles ahead, he didn't let any of these biases against him dim his ambition. Brian found happiness again, but the experiences he had left a big hole in his heart. And if you thought that was heartbreaking, wait until you hear Maya's story. Maya Taylor not only defied harsh stereotypes, but also made history in the film industry and entertainment world. She had to endure homelessness, doing whatever job she could to survive. Beyond all that, Maya had to fight not only with herself but also with the world around her, overcoming pain, loneliness, and cold nights. But eventually, fate smiled on her when she met Sean Baker, the director of Tangerine. That was the turning point that changed her life, and from nobody, she became the first transgender actress to win the prestigious Gotham Award. Maya's story proves that negative public opinion can destroy one if not well handled, just like it almost did in the case of Angela Ross. Angela Ross was once a lost girl rejected by her family for daring to live as a transgender. But from the ashes of pain and stigmatization, she rose to become the first transgender woman to play a leading role on Broadway, turning the stage into a place to assert her worth and the value of her community. Angela's transition began in the early 2000s. This truth caused her family to turn their backs on her, leaving her isolated and homeless. The lonely nights in her empty room brought her to the brink of giving up, but instead of crumbling, she chose to confront it using her pain as motivation. The most shocking moment in her career came in 2022 when Angela Ross made history on the Broadway stage with her role as Roxy Hart in Chicago on her first night. The audience applauded her courage and resilience. A single choice was what affected Angela in unexpected ways, just like it did to Gia Banks, although her story later had an unexpected twist. Gia Banks joined the ballroom community at the age of 19 and immediately became a star. Dancing wasn't the only thing she did. She went on to become a spiritual mother and a guiding light for other transgender individuals. Not only that, she's tirelessly worked to provide legal and medical support for those who were once like her, people abandoned by society. Gia's transition was a long and painful journey. She was born into a poor family with no support. She had to battle against prejudice and discrimination from society since her childhood. But doors eventually opened for her. She found not only passion, but also a place to affirm herself. Just as Gia experienced and faced discrimination, MJ's story was not so different. MJ Rodriguez was not just a rising star in the entertainment industry, but also a symbol of victory for the transgender community. She became the first transgender woman to win a Golden Globe in 2022, an incredible achievement not just for her, but for the entertainment industry as a whole. MJ's struggles began in the early 2010s when she was still living a normal life, but everything changed when she decided to embark on a transgender mission. Her life took a new turn as she started facing discrimination and a lack of love and support from her family, but she didn't allow all these to stop her. She came to the limelight after she conquered the musical stage through her role as Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors. While transitioning was her choice, it still brought her intense pain. But what happens when Griffin Gracie's problem is not just about transitioning, but about something much more serious? Imagine a woman of color embarking on a journey to transition when the whole world turned its back. That was Griffin Gracie daring to break all the prejudices and live true to herself. Society back then was unforgiving, as she faced ridicule, isolation, and violence. Her life became even more frightening as she was imprisoned in a system where transgender women weren't just stigmatized, but became brutal targets of abuse. Beyond her personal struggle was a deeper pain etched into her mind in the infamous Attica prison, where she witnessed the inhumane injustices against people like her. However, Griffin's life wasn't just full of suffering as things turned around. After the fateful Stonewall night, she rose despite all her wounds to become a voice for the unheard, as the executive director of the TGI Justice Project. She helped thousands of transgender women of color reclaim their lives after prison. What's really special is that she didn't just offer help from afar, but personally visited prisons, bringing clothes, food, and even a warm embrace to welcome them. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.